Hey, this time the quick speed shop. I'm working on my 50s Nailhead Dragster. This time, look, I got the torches out. And I think today we're going to get the engine transmission mounted, build some motor mounts. And I've got the front suspension put together here. I got some new shackles and kingpins, got that, or perches, got that put together. Got the front end on. I went to Speedway Motors and got a tie rod end, which we have to antique. Also got to drop the steering arms down a little bit, I believe, to make it work. But got the front end so it steers now. It's just rubbing. So we'll fix that. But first, I want to focus on getting the Nailhead mounted. So I bought this on eBay, and I've got another drive shaft. I'm going to cut the rear end off of it. We're going to weld them together. I wouldn't recommend this for a street car. Take it to the drive shaft guy and have him build you the correct drive shaft. But for what I'm doing to this thing, just driving on off the trailer and firing it up and driving around the yard and stuff, homemade drive shaft's going to be fine. So first thing we're going to do is build that. The reason I want to do this first is I want to get the drive shaft lined up, get the transmission and the rear end lined up. Here I can see they're off just a little bit, but I want to line them up first, then I can make a transmission mount to lock the transmission in, then build some motor mounts. I have this drive shaft, and I hate to cut it up, but I have to because it's the only thing I got to work. This is the original rear drive shaft out of my AMC Eagle station wagon. And it's not really going to ruin it. I'll save the top half and I'll mark it Eagle. It's still got the slip yoke, Spicer slip yoke on front. It's probably the same as Jeep stuff. But the U-joint is the right one for this 8-inch Ford rear end. And the tube is going to be the right diameter. So it's going to have to be sacrificed because I got to get this dragster done. I got like 5 weeks to go. So I'm going to get a dimension right quick, and we're going to mark it and cut it. Don't be scared, it's only metal. So I've got the slip yoke in here, pulled out of the transmission about 1/2 inch. Now there's no suspension travel or really engine travel because they're both going to be solid mounted, so I really don't need to worry about a lot of slip. So I slipped it out about 1/2 inch, and I'm just going to measure what I got to do here. From the back of the U-joint to the drive shaft, front of the drive shaft, I got to go about, let's say, 2 3/4. Hoop. From the yoke, center of the drive, center of the 2 3/4. Where's that? Line me up. Ooh, right about there. I'm barely going to be... What was the diameter of this? I'm going to... You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut it long, and then we're going to recut it. We're going to cut twice and measure once. I might be able to slip the black drive shaft over the Buick drive shaft. This one is, I think, 2 1/4 inches OD. Yeah, 2/4 OD, and I can't really eyeball this. This looks almost like it's... almost like 2 5/8 OD maybe, or I'm sorry, 2.5 OD. So maybe this drive shaft will slip right inside of this tube, and that'd be kind of cool. I'd just line it right up and overlap it and weld it together. Okay, this is super sketchy, but I've got the drive shaft trimmed, and I've already tested it a bunch of times. I'm ready to go. You can see how short it is. I've got it locked in phase, or actually locked. It's in phase. I've got the yoke sitting on the steel bench, and I've got the U-joint sitting here, so it's locked in phase. Both the yokes are in phase this way, and these are in phase. And it is just a little bit of a sloppy fit, so I'm going to tack it, and then I'm going to try to measure. I'm going to tack it up top here. I put some electrical tape on the slip part that slipped inside here to space it out so it's touching on the inside, and I got just a little bit of play here I got to play with. Like I said, this is not the way to do this. If it was something that was going to go on the road or whatever, obviously you would want to take it to a drive shaft place and have them do it, because I have no way really to keep this straight or balance it or anything. But for being how short it is on this little homemade dragster, it's the best I can do with what I got to work with and not spend $1 million. So I'm going to put one tack on it right? If I can attack it right about there. Of course, the ground doesn't want to ground. Nuts. Now let's take it over to the dragster and kind of slip it in there and see if we can maybe spin it and see if it'll tell me if it's way out of whack, or I don't really have any way to spin this. Next question is, can I get it in here? Yep. Bam. Just like that. The other problem is I don't have the stupid straps for this rear end. I got to order those, and I forgot to order them. Well, look at that. It appears to be doing something. If I can make some kind of crude dial indicator here. Ooh, that's way out of whack. Oh yeah, I can see. Now I can see. I got gap. I got a... Actually, I'll probably... You know what? It'll probably help to weld it up here, because I can spin it. I see I'm touching here, and then I got a gap on the other side. So that needs to come up. Let me cut that tack, and then I can probably tap it. I probably should have chucked it up in here and welded it this way. That's pretty good right there. Looks probably the best I'm gonna get with my bougie setup here. Tell you what, that looks halfway decent. So let's put more tacks on her. I like it. It's within a couple thousandths of being true. That's close enough for government work right there. Got her welded up. I'm gonna have a like 1/8 inch steel plate drive shaft hoop over this, so it can't come apart. But it's in phase here, so we're good to go. And I've got angle down and angle up, so I got the parallel angles on my transmission and my rear end, so everything should be fine. It shouldn't want to shake. I think it's too short to shake, for one thing. But I think that turned out good. So the next thing I want to do is make a transmission mount. I'm just going to probably come around with some plate and bolt to the bottom of the frame, set the transmission right on it, and maybe come up around the side and just bolt like an L on the side of the frame. So I'll let this cool down and then we'll do that. Well, the camera battery, I forgot to charge, so I had to charge the camera for a little bit, so I didn't get to show you this, but I made the transmission mount. And it's really crude. I took the stock transmission mount that came with the car, or the engine. I cut the tabs off it and basically just like held it up under the car, and then I welded these two pieces of like 2x4 channel to them. And it's really ugly, but it works. It's welded up there good, and it's got these angle iron pieces that go around and bolt on the side of the frame. So I'm going to blow a little bit of black paint on this thing just to, so it's not bare metal. And then we're going to bolt it up under the transmission, and I'll show you how that looks. But it's going to be super, it's way beefier. It's going to be plenty strong enough to hold the transmission in the car, in the dragster. So it's just going to look, it goes with the home built, let's just do it look. So bam, there we go. Let me rattle can some black on it, and then we'll bolt it up in the frame there. Can't see nothing. There's one. Transmission up a little bit with the floor jack here, but I might be able to get a bolt or two in it for now. Yes. Go! Ah, got it. All right, it's the next day. I'm working on the motor mounts here. I just added a piece of tubing across the frame under the engine where the mounts are going to be. This engine had rubber mounts that were brand new here, and I don't want the engine vibrating around or rocking around. I want it solid to the frame, so I took those off. But it had brand new mounts there. I'm not sure how it looks on the car, but there's a bolt here and a bolt on the top. But anyways, I cut out some plate, made some solid plate mounts here, and then this cross member is just a piece of, I think, 1.5 inch square tubing welded in. It's welded to the frame on the inside, welded across the top, and then I welded this gusset on. We're just going to take some round tubing and go from there to there and marry this up, and then it should lock the engine in solid here so it can't really rock around. Let's see if the engine is centered up here before we get too carried away. I'm just going to like stab on the side of there. It's 9.5 to the outside of the frame. Ooh, we got 10 1/8. So what did I say, 9.5? So it's got to come. So let me check the rear to make sure the rear is centered. I'm almost positive that it is. Got it sitting on a piece of tubing, just kind of steady it up so it doesn't want to rock around. Now, what did I do with the tape measure? It's gone. Gone? Gone forever. Where did it go? I just literally used it. All right, see what we got now. We got 9 7/8, and we got 9.5. Nine 3/4. We got 9 3/4. Bam! Well, I just can't believe it. I just rudimentarily welded and guesstimated, and this thing fits perfect. Oh my goodness gracious. That is money. That'll stand off right like that, make a mount. I don't believe it, but I gotta believe it. I'm looking right at it. Let's take it over to the other side. It will work for the other side, but it needs to be 1/4 inch longer for some reason. All right, here we go. I'm just gonna tack the bottom on each pipe. Sitting on the motor mount plates, just let me double check my measurements. 9 5/8, 9 3/4. I doubt. Oh, hold on. Oh, I can bring it over just a little bit. Yeah. I screwed up. I didn't check level. Luckily, it's not. It's just tack. I might have to make a longer tube on this side. Let's see. If I leave the passenger side mount tacked, let me cut the tack on this side, and I can lift it up and get it, because it'll mount it from 2 sides now, so I can lift it up, get it level. Then I'll probably have to remake the driver's side tube because it's not going to be long enough. That was a mistake. How do we make a mistake? Well, building in a hurry on the fly. That's how. There we go. So now, in theory, I should be able to lift it, and it should. There we go. It's leveling it out because the other side is tacked. All right, now I've double checked my measurements, and I can burn this in. I've got a little bit of a gap over here, but it's going to be okay. Weld it. All right, bam, I can, well, that's cooling. I can take the cherry picker off it, and we'll be completely on the engine mounts. Get this thing right out of the way so we can get back to fabbing. Bam, perfect. Okay, now that the engine's mounted, it's time to drop these steering arms just a little bit. So I'm gonna get out the torch here, and we're gonna just heat them up and bend them down just a little bit. Right here, I'm gonna heat it right about here. And I get cherry red, and I'll take this pipe wrench, just bend it down. I'm only going to go down about 1 inch or so just to get a little bit of clearance below this wishbone. And that will allow me to have that thing not, the steering arms not rub on there. I hope I can get it hot enough with this small tip. I would put my rosebud tip on, which will give it more heat, but these are, you can change the tips on these, and I just noticed the O-rings are all dry rotted, so if I put it together, it's going to have dry rotted O-rings and leak. Could have a acetylene or oxygen leak and have an explosion. That'd be bad. So we're going to attempt it with the little tip here. Hopefully it'll work. I guess that it probably will. Oh yeah, there we go. Bam. All right, that's probably good on that side. Hold on 1 second here. It's about the same as the other side down to there. And bend this down just a little bit more, then bend the eyelet up just a little bit. I already did the driver's side one. I forgot to turn the camera on because I had the torch going and I just did it and I forgot. But I'll show you on this one. This one will take a little bit less heat because this is a lot thinner here at the end. I just want to get it hot right before the, right at the eyelet, and then just bend the eyelet up to like horizontal. And this used to have the side steer eyelet on it and it had a old rotted tie rod on. I just cut the steering arm off because I'm going to use this. It's going to be side steer, so I don't need that extra arm on there. So I just cut it off. Yeah, this is getting pretty red already. Let's try it. Just like that. It's only swinging around. Got to go just a little bit more. The reason we can do this, these are original Ford steering arms, very good quality steel, forged steel. As long as you let them cool naturally, these are as strong as the day they were first made, even doing this. But that's got it. We successfully dropped our steering arms. There we go. You can see that's nice and parallel now, but it essentially dropped that arm down. Ooh, that's hot. We'll get on it, but that will put the tie rod down below. Before, the tie rod was way up into the brake drum. We've dropped it probably, I don't know, 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches there. This one is just a touch higher. I just eyeballing this, but it'll be good for what we're doing. These 36 steering arms are a little bit different than, like, let me go over here, 37 to 41 roundbacks. They're a little bit beefier. The steering arms are quite a little bit longer, and they're also flatter, so you really got to bend them down. These 36 ones had a little bit different shape, but they came out nice here, and I'll just let these cool to their natural state, and they'll be good as they were new. It puked all the grease out of my lower. This is the side that's got a bad bushing, and you can see how it's loose. It puked all the grease out of it. Got her hot. If you're doing spindles and you're going to put new bushings in them, rebush them, I would drop the steering arms first and then put your bushings in and hone them and all that. Like, I just did these on the axle because this is not a street car. It's just for fun, and it's already got bad bushings, so it doesn't really matter. But bam, early Ford steering arms, heated and dropped. Good progress today, making the drive shaft, getting the engine mounts built, and dropping the front steering arm so I can put the tie rod end on, which, where's the tie rod? It's lost. Oh, here we go. I just got a Speedway kit that comes with a new tie rod ends, boots, the whole 9 yards. I just measured it center to center. Oh, shoot. Well, I didn't really change the location of the steering arms. You can heat them and bend them and change the in and out, but I pretty much went straight where they are, so I've got some adjustment. I had this lined up before I bent these. I'll have to realign it. But there we go. Now the thing will steer, and the motor's mounted. Next time, we're going to go and we're going to do, I think we're going to start building the cage. Well, cage. I'm going to build the roll bar. I've got a neat idea from how I've seen a bunch of old pictures. Don Garlitz had, in his first dragster, he had a roll bar built like this because nobody had tubing benders and stuff like that back then like everybody's got now. So we're going to do it old school. I've got this pipe here. I think it's like 1.5 inches. So the roll bar is going to be 1.5 inches, and I'm going to have some down bars. I got some body work to put on here, and I'll sit like in a cockpit, make some kind of hoop for that, hang the steering box. We'll mount on that. Then I got to figure out, I have to put some kind of floor in here for my feet to sit on. Definitely going to make a drive shaft tunnel, and then get this body work up on. Then pretty much the major assembly is going to be done, and then it's time to play with the engine and wire it, put the distributor in it, plugs, wires, water pump, stuff like that. Build some kind of coolant reservoir, get a fuel tank, and then we should be able to try to fire this Nailhead up and maybe take a trip in the driveway with the Nailhead Dragster. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button. If you guys like this cool stuff, I don't see anybody else on YouTube right now building a Deathtrap 50s Rail Dragster. It's going to be on display at the Buffalo Motorama in Buffalo, New York at the Convention Center, March 24th through the 26th. This car will be there, I'll be there, so if you're in the area, stop by and say hi, and we'll see you next time. Bam, working on the Dragster here at the Quick Speed Shop. I'm a professional, don't try this at home.